We are at the glorious Utah Motorsports campus. This is about as beautiful a desert day as you can imagine. Temperatures, as you would expect, warm but dry. And the sky's absolutely beautiful. Bit breezy here, which can wreak a little havoc on this track at times, and that just makes it all the more interesting. And remember, this track up at some significant elevation, some 4,400 feet above sea level, and nestled between two beautiful mountain ranges, the Oakers to the east and the Stansburys to the west, and it's absolutely gorgeous here. I'm Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish. The third member of our broadcast team today, of course, is Jeff Lepper, and he is down in pit lane with an update.
Well, all the great charities that are part of Pirelli World Challenge, of course, including Racing for Paws, Holly Canal. Tell us about what we do with Racing for Paws here on our race weekends.
Well, what we do here is we raise money for rescues, shelters, and the Humane Society. We're after it. It costs so much to rescue these animals from their abusive state and get them ready for adoption. We want to thank all the drivers and teams for donating this weekend, and we would really like you to go to our website, racingforpaws.net, where you can donate. And we also have partnered. We have exciting news. We have now partnered with K9 Essentials. It's a new organic dog food that is now on the market.
Yeah, perfect there. And, of course, Anne-Marie Fuller from Perfect Paw Prints, the local rescue here. Tell us about your organization here in the Utah area.
We've been here since 2008. We rescue cats and dogs, working to make Utah a no-kill state.
Well, awesome. And one of the great charities here, all part of Pirelli World Challenge, Greg and Cal.
Absolutely, Jeff. It really, I mean, that's very, very special indeed. And it's an honor to be part of that program, obviously. I think everybody here are pretty serious pet lovers and dog lovers and the like. So we all understand that, and we absolutely celebrate it as well. So thanks and congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's great to see folks doing so much for, as you said, Greg, they're like our kids. So animals
truly
are so important to every family.
So we welcome them as always, and it just continues to be a great story, so thanks so much. So we're getting into this final day of racing. It's been an interesting one here for sure, and jam-packed with activity. We had two touring car races yesterday, a GTS race and a Sprint X race, and we have the GTS race this morning, Sprint X race this afternoon. And interesting what's going on, Cal, in terms of this championship in the Pirelli World Challenge GTS category. Some pretty furious racing, certainly, but one of the big stories is, Lawson Ascherbach only the second time off the podium, but this time way off the podium.
Yeah, I think yesterday was probably his biggest struggle all season long in terms of his pace compared to the rest of the field. He also had that puncture.
Yeah.
Didn't cost him too badly. There was a yellow immediately with two cars getting involved right after he had his issue, so he stayed on the lead lap and made a bit of ground there before the checkered flag. But at this stage of the game, I think, and as we've seen so often with Lawson, you guys just got to think big picture.
Yeah.
It's all about championship. Keep knocking these rounds out
Yep.
so that no one can catch you, and basically you're putting away and putting everyone dormant in the points chase.
Yeah, damage limitation, essentially. And interesting, I mean, Ian James had a pretty solid finish up in third. He came in second in the points, so he certainly made up a little ground, but Lawson's lead was substantial. Martin Barkey looked awfully racy, had some issues late in the race, and he came in here well-placed in the points as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays, and I think for Lawson, where he ended up finishing was where he was going to finish anyway.
Right.
I mean, that was, and that's what we're talking about Lawson. When he had the problem, the crew got that car back out. He stayed on that lead lap, as you said. He came back up and he finished as well as he could have without more help up front, and that's how you win a championship.
It is, and I think there's a couple of finish lines for him with every race at this stage of the game with such a commanding lead. It's the first one is get points. To do that, you need to do 50% of the distance, so 25 minutes, 50% of the time. So 25 minutes in is when he'll score points, and then I think he'll get aggressive from that point forward. But you talk about James and Barkey. Barkey had a great run yesterday. I think potentially he had a winning car, Greg. He's putting the pressure on Baptista. Looked like he's having a search for clean air to get some cooling. It was very hot here in the race yesterday afternoon. And then after the yellow, he lost pace. He got a little bit of pickup, struggled to get those tires cleaned off, and that cost him dearly towards the end.
The engines have come to life. It is time to go racing here for the 14th round of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship presented by Cbs. The field on its way, and today it's simply out on its way on an installation lap, because second round of these double headers, we now go to a standing start. And it's always interesting here because this is such a long straightaway, Cal, and that standing start, you build a lot of speed and momentum by the time you get down to a tricky turn one.
Yes, you really do. It can certainly fan out 3-4 wide before you get to that brake zone.
It's going to be interesting. There's a look at one of our great partners, Cadillac, and their ATSV, the official safety car of the Pirelli World Challenge. Been a great partner for years, and these vehicles they provide us, not only are they impressive in their capabilities, but they are vital to the performance of this series. So big thanks to them as we watch the field going out. Now, unlike a pace lap, Cal, you're getting ready to come around for a rolling start. Obviously a little different dynamic here to come up and then park and get ready for a standing start.
It is, and I think for Martin Barkey, who showed so much pace here yesterday, that's going to be key. The crossbow is not the best off the line, but he's got a lot of pace, and I think he's a potential winner here today. But Jeff Courtney on the pole, that is a great story. He's shown so much potential over the last few rounds of this championship, knocking on the door, and it'd be great to see him bring that Maserati home.
Would absolutely. There's a look at Nate Stacey in the number 14 Flying Lizard Motorsports Porsche. Was very racy early in the race yesterday, but then had some issues late. Jeff Lepper, what's the update?
Well, absolutely. In that Flying Lizard Porsche, Nate Stacey, the rim actually spun on the tire when he hit one of the curbs in the attitudes trying to make up some time. That allowed him to drop about 4 pounds of air pressure in that tire. So when the other tires came up to temperature, the handling on his Porsche went away. You spoke about Martin Barkey a little bit earlier. Temperatures came up on that engine to be safe. They went ahead and replaced that engine in that MBRP, so he'll start in last.
Yeah, he certainly looked very, very racy during that race. And then after that last caution, Barkey, it just suddenly, he didn't get there. Courtney was able to sneak around him, and it was obvious something was amiss.
Yeah, it really was, and that's a shame that he's had to do that engine change and lose his grid position, because he had a lined up on the front row with the second fastest race time yesterday. So he's got a lot of work to do. Ideally, what he needs to do, and we don't see it typically in GTS action, is a yellow flag. We saw 2 yesterday. He needs to make some ground through this field, get a reset with a caution, and maybe he can get his way back to the front.
Yeah, it's interesting. He starts at the back, but with a fast car. Couple of things here. This track, when we take a look at our Pirelli keys, you've got to stay on top of this track. It changes constantly, doesn't it?
It really does, and there's a stiff breeze out there this morning, Greg, and that's really going to blow a lot of this dust and sand onto the race circuit. It means the drivers have to be on their toes. They've got to look ahead, look for those little sandstorms that you see blowing around this race circuit this morning, and make sure you don't make a mistake.
And I think stay off the limit. We're talking track limits a little bit. That's being very closely watched here, isn't it?
Yeah, it really has. There's a couple of key areas. That is turn 11, that's Tuella turn, and certainly through the attitudes as well.
Yeah, so obviously we are looking forward to this one getting underway. We're going to take a quick break. We will come back with the standing start in Pirelli World Challenge GTS, presented by Cbs. Okay. All right, when we come back, why don't I welcome us back? And welcome back, everybody. The field completing its installation lap here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah, presented by Security National Mortgage, as we get ready to go racing for the GTS, presented by Cbs Championship. Let's take a look here at our quad box. It's just a sampling of some of the great images you're going to see from phenomenal cameras that we have on board here. Just the Replay XD images are spectacular. You see that empty spot on the outside of that front row. That has to stay there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Porsche race analysis, this track a little over 3 miles, 15 counted turns. High elevation. We talked about already what this track does in terms of track changes. You got to stay on top of things here, and it's going to be fun to watch. 2 different classes. We are ready to go racing. There is the Cadillac Escalade official medical vehicle of the Pirelli World Challenge. And as the field releases, that vehicle will chase them down. And a big, big move down to the inside by Jorge Kurtz in the GTSA car. But Cal, Courtney under attack already by Ian James.
Ian James looking for the inside lane. Look at Baptista. Think about what he did here. Yes, they swept around the outside. I don't think he quite has the position. Ian James to the front early. Look at Kurtz. He takes second.
What a start by Jorge Kurtz from 9th on the grid up into 2nd. That is a GTSA car. Phenomenal run. Courtney now tries to fight back in turn 2, but Kurtz had the move, shut the door. So Jorge Kurtz, he has just been unbelievable the last few races in GTSA. He's up there playing with the full pros.
Yeah, just he's really on form right now. Got a lot of confidence in that. McLaren has a lot of straightaway speed. He defends a little bit going down into the Black Rock hairpin. This Courtney looks for a way through.
And you can see Aschenbach in the back trying to make some moves as well. Barkey trying to work up out of the Black Rock hairpin. Nate Stacey taking a look at Drew Stavely in the number 2 of Jason Bell. Big spin. He had an incident in the first race. Some other cars seem to be involved. The 11 of that's Tony Gables. And Bell, if he can't get moving, he's right on the line there. Now we'll see if he's able to get going. Meanwhile, now heading into that really tricky section of track called the Attitudes.
Yeah, this is wild. You see the elevation change through here. You really got to be careful, and that's one of the track limits areas of the racetrack that the stewards are really keeping their focus on. Kurt's doing a nice job here. He doesn't seem to be intimidated right now, just laying down. Oh, he gets a little bit wide there. As I said, that he just missed the apex a little bit there in Tuella. Look at Baptista. He's looking feisty.
He is, and you can see Courtney just moved over a little bit to dissuade him. And boy, look at the run there that Stavely got. Stavely was very quick in qualifying. Didn't quite get the race he wanted. He's trying the outside move. If he can get there, he's got the inside into release. That was a beautiful move, Cal.
Yeah, that was great stuff there, and Baptista gave it to him. So Baptista's got a little bit of work to do, our race winner from yesterday. Watch that straightaway speed of that
Look
McLaren.
at that thing, that flies.
It really does. And Ian James is going to have to be on his toes here today. Got the better grid spot. He's kind of mired, I think, 7th on the grid yesterday, Greg, which gave him a lot of work to get that podium. Here comes Baptista, makes a move back down to the inside of Stavely. Looks like it came in, may have a little bit more straightaway speed than the Ginetta, but Ginetta's got some handling, as you can see right there.
Boy, he just stuck it again around the outside. Yeah, so that car clearly is sticking right now. And that makes it kind of fun to race, isn't it, when you can put a car pretty much anywhere you want.
Yeah, it really is, and this is a fun racetrack to do it at. See Nate Stacey getting a good run on his teammate here. So Stacey up in the top 6. Baptista kind of protects a little bit the brake line into Black Rock hairpin.
And there is a look. That is the number 11 of Tony Gables, who is one of the big players in the GTSA Points Championship. Had a great drive yesterday, but problems early today.
See the damage here to that right front. The wheels bent, fenders in, bumpers pushing. They're trying to pull that out. There's definitely some damage to the suspension as he grabs the wheel. The whole upright just goes back and forth, so it looks like it's going to be a long pit stop for Tony Gables.
A tough weekend has gone even worse for the Black Dog Speed Shop team, one of the best in the business. While they're effecting repairs, we're going to sneak in a quick break. We'll be right back to Utah. While we're in break for our CBS Sports Network show, if you've been tuning in throughout the season on our global webcast here, you know that you're just sort of eavesdropping as we build our CBS Sports Network show. Thanks for joining us and tuning in here. We have gone full course caution, which tells me, I haven't seen it, but it tells me that Jason Bell probably was not able to get that Sin R1 GT4 moved.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame to see those guys have some contact early. I think they both had potential, certainly being with the shot of a podium in the GTSA class.
Yeah.
Kurtz there. He could be looking at a big result here today.
Well, he got his 5th straight win in GTSA yesterday. I mean, he's just been tearing it up at the previous round in Mid-Ohio. He came in 2nd in the points, had the lead when he won the first of the doubleheaders, expanded it with a brilliant run in the 2nd race. Last lap pass on Gables for the win. He just seems he has just found form, and he's not a full-time pro. I mean, he's, you know, he recently won the Silicon Valley Entrepreneur of the Year award. That's the business he's in. But he has embraced racing, and he has become an amazing student. And he's one of those guys that seems to be able, when he goes over data with his coaches and team managers and the like, he just seems to be able to absorb it and apply it.
Yeah, he's very diligent in his approach. I spoke to Dane Cameron, who's actually coaching with him this weekend. Colin Brown, his regular driver coach, is busy with the Global Rallycross Championship this weekend. So Dane Cameron, a prototype champion, is working with him. And he says he wants to know everything. He wants to look at video. He wants to see data. He wants to see notes. He's very serious about his game here. And you can see the results. Up here second overall in the early going.
Well, his CrowdStrike, which you see on the side of the car, is a software. It's an internet security software that's rated as some of the best in the world. So he's got that geek intensity, and he clearly applies it to his driving, and it's showing. There you see the track vehicles here trying to help get Jason Bell moved. We had a shot there of Jeff Courtney, and he's got to be really frustrated because he had that pole. That car is quick. I think he was thinking, you know, this could be a good day for me here. He loves this track, and he just got swallowed up a little bit on that standing start.
He did, but we've seen Jeff be very patient during these 50-minute sprint races, and he typically comes on strong at the end. So don't count him out yet, at least for a podium and maybe more. I mean, the Maserati does have pace. It's got a good combination of handling and straightaway speed.
He told me, ironically, he said the fact that we don't have ABS is helping me conserve tires, which you'd think might be a little weird, but he said, because I know I can't go in hard and lock up and do it, he said, I tend to be a little easier on the tires, and usually have a little something left at the end of the race as a result. So, you know, that's making the best of a unique situation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the flip side of that is you can flat spot one a lot easier than the ABS cars, but conversely, you're not pushing quite as hard, and you're having to manage that a little bit more versus someone who's just really hard into the ABS, hard into the TC, and ends up with no tires left at the end of the 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's interesting here what we're seeing with that Panos. It is not a GT4 homologated car, so it's a car, as we see Jason Bell Sinar 1 GT4 getting pulled off the track. That's unfortunate, that Racer's Edge Franklin Manor machine. But that Panos Avezzano, it's a car that can still be sort of manipulated and improved on. So as it gets better, the series now has to make sure that it's working in terms of balancing it. It's pretty interesting. We're going to come back with our CBS Sports Network show in just a second. Beautiful imagery here, and the Panos Avezzano GT in the hands of Ian James, leading the field around as we are ready to go back to green here at the Utah Motorsports campus. They are in the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, and I think that's an interesting move by James. He didn't get into it super early. I think he wanted to try some torque, but I'll tell you, that McLaren's got launch, Cal.
It does. It's got the straightaway legs, and Jorge Kurtz goes to the front.
I think Kurtz read that beautifully. Watch what James was doing and timed it. Look at the margin he's built up, no way to attack. And again, Stacy trying to make a move. Courtney
meat in the sandwich there. He's going to come out in third. Someone goes really wide there.
That was Keith Jensen, I think, in the Nola Sport GTSA Porsche. He was very quick yesterday, but got involved in in an incident with the number 2 of Bell. Look at Stacy. Looking racy in the early going, and Lawson Aschenbach had a great restart, Cal.
He did, and look at Baptista, yesterday's winner. He's been fumbled all the way back to 7th position right now.
Boy, did you see Lawson just hammer that curb in turn number 4. Oh, he's trying a
inside.
Super late move.
He really does. Lawson Aschenbach going for it. So much for waiting for the halfway point.
Exactly, and Stavely, we've watched, 3 abreast exiting Blackrock hairpin, and Jensen finally, look at Jensen's cut across move.
That was dicey.
Oh, man.
Certainly from that tails away angle, it didn't look good.
That was a
but
needle
he makes
thread.
it work.
That was a needle thread. I think he had some people cooperating with him to allow that to happen. But what a masterful restart by Lawson Aschenbach, who now sits in that, and then with that move into Blackrock, he's 5th, Cal.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Just really putting it all on the line. This is good news for Nate Stacy. We haven't really seen him run ahead of his teammate very much this year, so this is a really good performance from him this weekend.
Yeah, and I think, he looked fairly quick, obviously, and here comes Stavely on Aschenbach. He looked quick yesterday until he had the problem. But yeah, today that car really looks to be working. Speaking of cars working, Stavely, like we had talked about before, no matter where, Lawson really running up on the back. Stavely's car just looks like it's just, you can, as we said, place it anywhere.
Well, you would think they've got certainly the home court advantage here with Ian Lacey Racing being based here right at Utah Motorsports campus, as Stavely runs a little bit wide there, but look at the gap he's established immediately on Lawson Aschenbach, who's now under attack from Baptista right behind him.
Well, Jeanette is so lightweight, they could just flow so much speed in the corners, and now Lawson, after that great restart, now is in massive defense mode. There's just no question right now that that Camaro is just not getting down the straights very well, but they've certainly, which is what Black Dog does, is okay, we're not good on the straights, we're going to make this thing handle superbly in the corners.
Yeah, they just got to keep working on their game. I spoke to Ray Sorensen, who runs the Black Dog operation, just said, you know, we just got to do our thing, and that's execute and maximize every single race.
Yeah, we talked about how this track changes. The number 50 of Ian James in that Panos Avezzano GT carries our iBox suspension cam, and that suspension, I don't know how they do it here, because you got the marbles, you got the dust that comes up, and through it all, you've got to get grip and use those curbs.
You do, and those curbs are pretty abrupt. I mean, the stewards are very much on top of not abusing those curbs and getting outside of the track boundaries, but even so, you need to run them now and again. You've got to get the IBAC suspension system working just right to deal with those.
And one of the sections that those suspension components come into huge use is up here through the attitudes, as Ian James in the Avezzano GT chases GTSA driver and race leader Jorge Kurtz here at Utah. Now we're in break for CBS Sports, back with you here on the global webcast, and this is going to be an interesting dynamic to see just how this plays out. And Courtney just set fast lap of the race, I think, Cal, on the last lap. So that Maserati, as you have said, has speed, and you can see Lawson defending on Baptista now.
Yeah, and Baptista's being very conservative here. I expect him to be a lot more aggressive. Really doesn't have a lot to lose here in terms of his championship position, so he can go for race wins at this point of the game, but he's really fallen back a ways. He's going to need a reset, I think, here to be a factor for the podium.
Out of release, the top five, fairly close company. Couple of 3 car lengths between Courtney and Stacy at this point. And there you see in the background, Aschenbach just goes all the way over to the driver's left side of the track, knowing he's got an attack and he wants to protect that inside. Now here comes Baptista. We saw Baptista just flow the outside. I don't think he was quite close enough to make that happen this time.
Now he's trying to work over Lawson Aschenbach, and Lawson's having to get a little bit defensive. That's going to work his tires a little bit more. Good run from Keith Jensen after the early good showing yesterday, and then the incident which took him out of a finish.
And he's essentially second in the GTSA category right now. And Carter Young, I'll tell you, this young man has done a superb job here. He started back in the 12th spot and had a decent run yesterday, but he has now jumped up. He is in 9th overall, sitting 3rd in GTSA in the Global Motorsports Group. Porsche came in GT4. He's having a good run. It looked like Stacy had a good run there on Courtney for just a sec. See if he was able to do anything with it.
Oh, he's right alongside there as the exit turn 6.
Actually, Stavely, Stacy took a look, and I think Stavely took advantage when Nate had to lift and went around him.
Yeah, that's a change of position.
Wow. And that has allowed now Kurtz and James to just have a couple of car lengths and a little bit of breathing room here.
Certainly, Kurtz here has got his mirrors full of Ian James Panos right now.
And Ian is, no question, he is a superb talent. And so for Kurtz, this is pretty heady stuff right now, isn't it?
It is. It's a learning curve, which is great. That's what the championship is all about. You've got drivers from various disciplines in terms of where they've come from and the stages of their career. Kurt's a gentleman racer who's just learning his craft. You got James, who's been around the block a few times and a lot of experience. Courtney, who's been in the championship for a long time. Just a great dynamic.
All right, we're going to pause. We'll be back with our CBS Sports Network coverage in just a sec. Welcome back, everybody. Great story here. Jorge Kurtz, a GTSA category driver, leading overall in the GTS presented by KSIT round of the championship. Championship here, 4th round, 14th round, I should say. We'll get it right here. And I'll tell you, just an amazing story. I'm so impressed. I'm speechless, apparently, with what George is doing right here. And it's interesting. He's runs from the Global Motorsports Group camp that, of course, James Safronis runs, Alec Udell runs in, and the like. And James is very proud, as he said, we work really hard with what he calls sort of our driver development program. We'll get a driver, they're interested, sometimes it all starts like Carter Young with the street car, and they go to Global Motorsports Group to get some aftermarket stuff done, and then they go out and do a track day, and it comes along, and he said, you know, one of the best he's seen in a long time is this guy, Jorge Kurtz.
Yeah, it's a nice ladder system. You just kind of gradually bring someone through their ranks and all of the cars that they have within their workshop. But George has really come on gangbusters this year. Works hard with a lot of driver coaches. Colin Brown is typically his driver coach. He was not available this weekend, busy with Global Rallycross Championship with Core Autosports. So Dane Cameron, a prototype champion, is in here this weekend in his ear on the radio and just saying, hit your marks, George. You've got straightaway speed just through this section of the racetrack. Just keep it clean. Don't make any mistakes.
Yeah, and I was talking a little earlier about Carter Young and the number 7, who's sitting third in GTSA, back in the order in this just a little bit. You can see him a couple cars in front of Clennon. This is only his first year actually racing. He did lots of track days and the like yesterday.
Look at this train.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And Young, just to finish it, has Alec Udell coaching him and on the radio with him. So, yeah, Global Motorsports Group gets it done here. But this is phenomenal. Look at the run that Stavely got coming out of release. He has got that corner figured out, Kel.
He does. It is really hooked up through there. Ian Lacey Racing knows this racetrack like the back of the hand because they are based here. Drew has a lot of laps. So here comes Nate Stacey. Kind of gets the double draft and then slides it down to the inside. He's going to be in there really deep. Will Courtney know he's there? 3 abreast there as they get to the apex. Courtney gets dropped a couple of positions.
What a move by Nate Stacey. You know, you knew at some point with his talent he was going to have a breakout race, and boy, he is starting to really show it here. And I mean, that double draft was great, but he had to be clear of everybody, so he was in their line of sight by the time they turned. He made it work.
Yeah, this is a great performance by Nate, and I know he's been frustrated by not showing a little bit more performance early in the going. He's been coached by Terry Borchella, a multiple champion in this sport over the last few weekends. Terry's busy this weekend, so not here, but certainly has given Nate some good rules to work by.
Now he's got to work after getting by him, as mirrors are going to be full of Stavely in that Ginetta, which seems to be able to look inside, look outside, do whatever he needs to do. But that little battle down into turn 1 has given Kurtz and James the biggest margin they've had, because at the end of that last lap, it was a, 6-car train.
It was, and that's how easily they can break the pattern here.
You know, yeah, and Barkey's quickly worked his way up. He's now up into 9th right now for Martin Barkey. And here's Jorge Kurtz, and we talked about that start he had. Well, he's earned one of the prestigious awards, the Optima Batteries Best Standing Start Award, up 7 spots. So just a phenomenal run by Kurtz. Ooh, this time though, James getting a run down into clubhouse. And Kurtz gave him the space
yesterday, and he cut and paste. That was nice for the lead. I think the problem for Ian James is I'm not sure he can gap that McLaren enough by the time they get to the straightaways. Stacey's now looking for a way by Kurtz as well.
I think Kurtz could have been a little bit less gentlemanly there and maybe closed that door a little bit as he turned in. I mean, it was nice to see him give him the room.
Ian looks pretty determined, and he's pretty forceful. As it reminds me of the move he made on Lawson Osher back down into turn 1 at Mid-Ohio.
Yes, exactly.
And he made a move yesterday to get up into that podium position as well.
Kurtz got a nice run, but he didn't quite get close enough to try anything. Here comes Courtney trying to get down underneath Stavely, the Maserati. That orange, black, and white machine, the Kendra Reckstuff car, couldn't quite sneak underneath that white Ginetta.
I think Baptista's getting a bit of a lesson in racecraft by multiple Pirelli World Challenge champion Lawson Osher back there. He's struggling to get by that Camaro, and you'd have to think if Stacey has pace, Baptista potentially has it as well, coming off the victory here yesterday. But he just can't find a way by the number 10 machine right now.
One thing we know about Lawson Aschenbach is when he's got a car to win, he will. When he's got a car that maybe isn't as fast, which is the scenario right now, he is a master at putting that car at the exit of turns and the entry of turns exactly where it needs to be. And Stavely trying the outside move into turn 6 on Nate Stacey, and I don't think quite got it done. But boy, that Ginetta's working. It just needs a
Look
little
at Barkey
bit more
there.
straight.
Barkey is catching this crowd.
Sure is.
Brilliant performance by Martin Barkey, being disciplined from the back of the grid, got that fresh motor in that crossbow, as Jeff alluded to in our pre-race comments. Oh, look at that. Kurtz is really losing a lot of ground to Ian James through the attitudes. And that's going to give Ian the break, I think, to when he gets to this front straightaway, he'll have enough of a gap.
There is a look at Barkey in that MBRP Performance Exhaust Machine as he is closing up on this group, coming up on the back of Keith Jensen. That would be for 8th. Up front, now Ian James has gone to the front in the Panos Avezzano GT as Baptista stuffs it up on the curb, down into windup, and finally able to get underneath. and make that pass, Cal.
I wondered how much longer he'd show that sort of patience. He's looking at that battle in front of him. He wants some of that as Stacy, his teammate, runs wide.
Stacy runs wide. Will that give an opportunity to Stavely to come up? They are side by side down this front straight. And Courtney looks to the inside. Are they going to be 3 abreast down into turn 1? They are. Oh, a huge squeeze play. Stavely cuts across in front of Courtney, and Stacy trapped on the outside, but he's going to be able to make that maybe work, Cal.
That was awesome racing. How there was not contact there, I do not know. Brilliant performance by all 3 of those guys.
And finally, Stavely with a little bit better exit speed with a wider arc through the turn, able to reclaim 3rd spot. Fabulous racing here in GTS presented by Kasich at the Utah Motorsports Grand Prix. Now we're in break for a CBS Sports Network show, but those of you listening on the web, we were initially going to go to break a little bit earlier, and you see that kind of racing, you just got to stay with it. It's fantastic stuff. This has just been a fabulous race, Cal.
It really has. It's been an ebb and flow to this, and everyone seems to be in the mix. I think Baptista has finally gotten around Lawson Archambault. Let's see what sort of pace he has now. He's got a little bit of clean air in front of him until he gets to Courtney's rear bumper. Look at this. Stavely is now up into the 2nd position. Kurtz is starting to fade just a little bit. Stavely's literally throwing that Ginetta around.
Oh, and he can. Look at this now. Nate coming up, taking a look at Kurtz. Is he going to be able to make? Wasn't quite close enough. That may have been as much to fend off Courtney as it was to attack on. Oh!
Look at Baptiste there. He thought, well, I made the move on Archambault. Maybe I can surprise Courtney in the same corner.
Yeah, clearly Baptista's got some pace, doesn't it? And Kurtz looks like he's slowing down.
Yeah, I think Baptista may have been being worked over by Jim Bell on the radio, just saying, be patient, save your tires. If we go green flag racing here today, you've got to have something for the last 10 minutes. He is coming alive.
He sure has, as has James once he got to the front, building a little margin. And now Drew Stavely has been able to put a gap enough on Kurtz that maybe he can just put his head down and see what he's got for Ian James as this race unfolds. You would think, Cal, the longer the race goes, that Avezzano a little bit heavier, a little bit harder on these Pirelli P0s, and that light Ginetta of Stavely might just come alive a little bit more relative to everybody else here. Look at this pack.
That's fabulous racing.
Yep.
And it's a real task to get the balance and performance right because you've got so many different dynamics. Look at this. Barkey is right now with these guys. Let's see if he can work his way through this pack. He flicks to the inside of Young.
Did he get down there? Not. Yeah, he did.
Oh,
that's Keith
contact.
Jensen, and they touch.
It's too bad. Looked like he just had to pinch it there to avoid contact and just loses the rear end.
And you can see as he spun, he hauled a lot of this great salt desert right up onto the track surface. And the corner marshals now are going to be displaying, I'm sure, a surface flag, let everybody know that something has changed here. But I mean, Barkey he was obviously had a great aggressive drive going and just caught him out, but he had nothing to lose. Just go for it.
He is, but you know, you say nothing to lose. It is really tight between he and Ian James in the points right now. There's only 4 points between them, so Ian James leading this race. That could really gap him over Barkey if the checkered flag falls and they're in these positions.
He's got 26.5 minutes, Barkey does, if he can get those tires clean and the car's all right to try and salvage something.
Needs a yellow now. He needs to close back up to this group. He's not going to do it in pace.
Boy, Baptista gets through that left-hand clubhouse turn amazingly well, doesn't he?
He's a real talent.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think he's a very quiet individual, a little bit introverted, but behind the wheel, a lot of pace.
Look at this scrap here. Stacy, I think he ran up on Kurtz a little more than he wanted, lost his momentum coming out of release, and Courtney read it beautifully. He's down to the inside. Stavely's closing on James, but now can Courtney make this one stick? Stacy's going to try the outside move.
But watch Baptista. Can he tuck inside and follow the lane that Courtney is creating?
If he does, that could freeze out Courtney a little bit, but Courtney used that outside line and got a great ramp and comes right around Stacy. Nice move there. That puts Courtney now up into 4th.
There's going to be some action down here into the brake zone. Watch this. Baptista's right on the tail of his teammate. Gotta be careful. You go down the inside. I was going to say, if you go down the inside of Stacy, you're going to hit Courtney.
Yep, exactly.
Courtney's wide. Little bobble there coming off the hairpin.
I wonder if he saw that debris and tried to swing out a little bit, but yeah, it cost him, didn't it? Look at Baptista right around the outside of turn 6.
He does, and he gets on the power early and clears Courtney.
And Aschenbach, because of all this battling they're doing, he's actually been able to reel this group back in.
And he'll stick it in there.
Yeah.
Past the
exactly.
25-minute mark, he's going to get points.
He almost did right there, and Courtney into the attitudes.
Great racing. GTS has been sensational once again this year.
And Drew Stavely, by the way, up front now is just in second spot, has just turned fast lap of
Yeah,
the race.
look at this. He is right on here,
Yep.
James. Maybe spot on, Greg, in terms of his tires being a little bit easier with the less weight that's carried with the Ginetta compared to the Panos.
The two teammates, boy, I'll tell you, you always want to beat your teammate, but the team doesn't like it if you take out the teammate or you have an incident with a teammate. So this is kind of a dicey position here for these two guys. You know how badly Nate wants to get a good finish here.
He wants to make a statement. Certainly,
Yeah.
Baptista has been a revelation this year in terms of bursting on the scene, getting a couple of victories, swept the doubleheader at Lime Rock. And Nate would be really making a statement if he could finish off this year with a few races where he finishes ahead of Baptista.
The Panos Avezzano GT of Ian James continues to lead here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah, presented by Security National Mortgage. And I'll tell you what, it is not a comfortable lead anymore. Drew Stavely has just uncorked fast lap of the race in that white, locally based Ian Lacey Racing Ginetta, and he has reeled him in, and almost now, well, he's within half a second at this stage officially at the end of the last lap. Now, while we were in break, Cal, we certainly had some action that unfolded. Want to go back and take a look at some of it here, and I'll tell you, it was some fast, furious racing. Watch Courtney. He looks at the back of Nate Stacy. That slowed Stacy's exit just a little bit, and he was able to make this move down to the inside. They went side by side through a number of corners here. This battling was just fierce.
Yeah, there was a back and forth to it, everyone giving each other just enough racing room. GTS action at its best.
Great flow as they work through this section of track. Jorge Kurtz, who's that early overall leader, still leads the GTSA. But I'll tell you what, he's in one of those great learning scenarios. George is right now, having raced hard with the likes of Ian James and really enjoying some good racing.
Look at this. Barkey looks down to the inside on Jensen. Oh, and there's contact coming off, Greg. A spin for Barkey after so much progress early in the going.
Yep, he worked so hard, starting dead last, and then Courtney running wide right there. That let Baptista get a bit of a run and come through. So that's some of the action that's unfolded. So at this stage, it's James Stavely, Kurtz third overall leading in GTSA, Nate Stacy fourth, Baptista fifth. Courtney has slipped back to sixth at this stage, and Aschenbach has been able to close up on those guys. So Aschenbach just looking for a couple other little bobbles like that, and that's more of those valuable points. But the story right now, yes, James looks strong, but Drew Stavely in that Ginetta is really starting to show pace again.
Yeah, I think the Ginetta's handling looks a little bit stronger than Ian James. So Ian James is digging deep into his notebook of how do I manage this race and just try and keep the tires underneath me. Kurtz there still running in the third position. The two Flying Lizard teammates, Stacy, Baptista, nose to tail. Courtney watching. They've dropped Lawson Aschenbach a little bit.
This is kind of an interesting dynamic for these Flying Lizard boys. I mean, you always want to beat your teammate, but you don't want to have contact with the teammate. Team looks rather dimly on that kind of a thing. And both these guys want a performance. Nate especially hungry for a really good performance here. It's going to be fun to watch how this unfolds the rest of the race.
It is, and I've got a feeling, I mean, Baptista was super patient in the early going here, and if you think about the championship positions, he really doesn't have a lot to lose, just go for race victories. But I think it's more of a strategy play in terms of being patient. If we get a full green flag run here today for 50 minutes, having a car that's a little bit stronger with your Pirelli tires here at the end.
Up into the tricky Tuella turn. Of course, Baptista, you know, as you said, kind of exploded onto the scene here in terms of North America. but he's raced these GT kind of platform GT4 cars. Nate coming from the big V8 and running that Mustang in the past. And it's just taken him a little bit longer to adapt to the idiosyncrasies of these Porsche GT4 Cayman Club Sport MRs. And boy, Jorge Kurtz, after all that early speed, he is hanging on. He still comfortably leads GTSA, so that's the important thing for him. But boy, I'll tell you, that McLaren's got legs, though.
It does. It's really got prodigious straightaway speed here. But look at this. Stavely is really close to Ian James as we get down to the turn 1 brake zone.
And I mean, this is the best thing really Stavely can do, isn't it? Is now that you're behind that heavier Panos, is just hound it. Make him use those tires a little bit more. I mean, we saw this last year oftentimes with the Crossbow that went on to win the championship. You know, early in the race, he'd lay back a little bit, but he'd come up, find those guys, and just lean on them for a while until they ran their tires off.
But he's got a really savvy and smart racer in front of him, Ian James, and he's doing everything he can to get Panos their 4th victory in 3 race weekends.
Well, if you're a big fan of this type of racing and want to know what's going on all the time, not just on race weekends, you can do it through social media. First place to go is Pirelli World Challenge site at world-challenge.com. Great video content there, links to the live webcasts of these races, which you're enjoying right now. You can also, of course, go to Facebook. Just search the Pirelli World Challenge Championship fan page, or on Twitter, just look for the handle at WC Racing. And for all things racing, take a moment to check out Motor Trend On Demand, which includes the archives of all the Pirelli World Challenge races, and you can start your free trial at motortrendondemand.com today. Okay. A tremendous battle for the lead continues here at the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah, presented by Security National Mortgage. As certainly Ian James in spots on this track is able to open it up just a little bit in the Panos Avezzano GT, but in others, Drew Stavely in that very nimble Ginetta from Ian Lacey Racing is able to reel him back in. Jorge Kurtz still sits 3rd, leading in GTSA, and that battle between the teammates behind him there has allowed Kurtz to build just a little bit of an advantage. But while we were in break, Cal, some pretty interesting things unfolding there too.
There was a lot of action. You see Baptiste has been a man on the move as well, up into the top 5 now for Flying Lizard, right behind his teammates, but there was a lot of slicing and dicing.
And here's a look at some of the activity here, and some great side-by-side action all the way down. We've seen it lap after lap down into turn 1. Martin Barkey in a big come up through the field move, a little too aggressive over in the Blackrock hairpin.
Yeah, tried to get down the inside of Keith Jensen, gets it a little bit wrong on exit, and unfortunately gets turned around, and he's faded now towards the back of the pack.
And then you watch some of this action here. Kurtz able to build the margin down the straight. And that McLaren definitely has some straight line speed. He's doing a brilliant job elsewhere on the track to keep some awfully talented drivers in his wake at this stage. And then we've got that battle between the two teammates, Nate Stacy, Baptista, and Courtney has come alive again and has closed them up.
Yeah, he was the meat in that Flying Lizard sandwich there for a while, but even so, he's hanging in there. I mean, started the race from the pole after getting the fast lap race here yesterday.
just a fun dynamic to watch. There's a lot of mind game going on right now, no question.
Stavely really close here through this section, where Ian James really seems to stretch him on previous laps as they run out of 6, out of knock, right hook and knockout up through Witchcraft. Right here, this section right now is where he kind of gaps Stavely, which I think if he was a little bit tighter, that could really make James vulnerable towards the end of the lap.
And here's that battle behind them. Kurtz and Aschenbach, who at one point was pretty close to the back of Courtney when everybody was battling. He was able to get there. Now that they're settled a little bit, just look to be racing, you can see Aschenbach is faded. And in fact, the 47 NOLA Sport entry, second in GTSA of Keith Jensen, is closing up on Lawson Aschenbach just a little bit.
Baptista car definitely looks a little bit stronger than Nate Stacey right now, but hats off to Rodrigo in terms of being really patient. They see Nate slips a little bit.
Yeah,
Will Baptista try and slide it down here as they get down towards Clubhouse? Courtney has a look as well.
I think Baptista probably would have, but then Courtney decided to get racy, and right there, Baptista carries so much speed out of Clubhouse into windup that you think maybe if he's got the right position and he's used it there before, he could surprise you with his entry speed. He might do something. For Stacey, second right now, he has the second fastest lap of this race, with Courtney having the third fastest lap. So Nate's had some speed, but maybe he pushed a little too hard early.
Yeah, absolutely, but it's not like the car's totally gone away on him, so it's a very strong run. Learns a lot over a doubleheader weekend in terms of how you set the car up. It's a little bit cooler conditions here than we had yesterday in the heat of the afternoon as well. That makes a difference. Looks like the wind has died down a little bit from what we saw on the pre-grid.
Right now, you'd think that Nate would really, really like to have Courtney really filling Baptista's mirrors at this stage, just to give him a little bit of respite from that pressure.
And Kurtz looks so appetizing there right in front of these guys. When you get to that front straightaway, he just gaps everyone. And he's done a really nice job. Let's not forget, this is an AM guy.
Yeah.
Really right in the thick of the battle overall. Tremendous performance by Jorge Kurtz here today.
I was just watching. You watch what the Panos is doing as it turns into Clubhouse. Ian shallowing that turn in an awful lot. Stavely just letting it flow a little bit. Not into Clubhouse, excuse me, into Black Rock. Interesting to see the different lines.
It is. And a lot of that will be down to how your car is working, obviously, in terms of the balance understeer versus a loose car.
Right.
Some of it is just your gear ratio, too. If you can tighten things up, you're right in the sweet spot, allows you to get away with that.
Down through the attitudes, heading into the Tuella turn. Deceptively quick corner here.
It is. A little bit uphill. Gives you a lot of grip right as you're turning in.
A lot of drivers are first time here, and they say, first few times through that, when you get to the exit, you go, oh, wow, I could have carried so much more speed. So then you overcompensate, and suddenly you're dropping tires on the exit.
Yeah, and those curbs are pretty aggressive there, and the driver stills are totally on top. That's one of the areas they've really been focused on this weekend.
So, Courtney and the number 3 of Baptista. Baptista, the rear tires buried in the gravel. He's not going to go anywhere. In that furiously close battle, you sometimes wonder, is it going to end in tears, as they say? Well, let's see if we can pick it up here. And yeah, clearly something happened there, Cal. We caught the end of it, and Baptista is buried down in the gravel. We're going to step away for just a moment. We'll come back and sort it all out. Meanwhile, up front, Ian James leads, but not by much, over Drew Stavely. And Jorge Kurtz, leading in GTSA, sits third. We'll be right back. We're laying out on our CBS Sports Network show, and there is the corner station flying the yellow. That is over in turn 11, which is the Tuella turn, or the Tuella turn indeed. But so far, we have not gone to a full course caution.
I don't see any way out of it, really.
I don't either. Depends, I guess, on if you look at a different angle, maybe from a different angle, it looks like he's far enough off track that up now we go full course caution. It just came out.
Yeah, I think I went to see if there was it didn't look good in terms of he seems high-sided with no drive to the rear to get him out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, he's going to be frustrated beyond belief. He had a great car. It looked like, as you said, I mean, it looked like he had been unusually patient for Rodrigo. He's a hard racer.
Remember, Courtney had poked his nose in there the lap before, so I don't know if it's a cut and paste a duplicate of that move, and maybe there was contact between the two guys.
Well, does this give a little bit of respite to Lawson Aschenbach? And we saw what he did on the last restart, where he made up a ton of spots.
Yeah.
He's pretty good at it.
You're going to have Kurtz there sitting in third spot, and on a restart, I mean, don't put it past him or suddenly grab that lead going down into turn one.
Yeah, that's a very good point, isn't it? I mean, he's got that pace.
Yeah, and then it's all about how much time is left on the clock for the boys to get back at him. Stavely's going to be pushing hard. He'd love to get the victory for the home base team.
That's what I was going to say. For Kurtz, it really comes down to what Stavely does, doesn't it? Referencing off of the back of that Panos.
Yeah, I got a feeling that Ian James may manage the restart a little bit different to the last one. He went very late, thinking that, well, if I just go early, Kurtz is just going to blow by me. He still got by him, but with the Ginetta now behind him, that may change his setup on this last restart.
Yeah, once you get in that VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, which here is essentially the exit of windup, which is the second to the last turn, you can pretty much go anytime you want. You can't brake check, go and slow down. So I think you're right. I think he might just, when everybody else is at the apex, he goes.
Yeah.
So Baptista, I don't know that he's going to lose a lap. He did, huh? Yep, he sure did. That's unfortunate. I think
that sort of year, feast or famine, it seems, for Rodrigo.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah. If he hadn't lost a lap, that car was quick. It'd be fun to see what he maybe could have done here.
But this is savvy. Look at him running right off line through both of those corners. You think, oh, I'm just frustrated. Just get it back to the pits.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yep, absolutely.
This is a driver who's been busy over in Argentina. Just last week had a couple of wins in the Porsche GT3 Cup Brazilian Championship that ran at Buenos Aires, and so he's getting tuned up. Got a good management team behind him, getting him in some good race cars.
And he's quick, and that's key too. Well, he's down in the Flying Lizard pits. Jeff Lepper, what's the word?
Well, he brings the car down here. They have the air blowers out here trying to get rid of some of the gravel and the radiators. However, as he was pulling up, the car was crabbing pretty good. You can see the damage here to the left rear. I got to believe there's some suspension damage to this Porsche Cayman.
And that would maybe think that maybe Cordy dived down the inside and had the door closed, or either way there was contact between those two cars.
That might explain why he was making sure he was staying well offline, because just he knew something was wrong and wasn't sure what it was and didn't want to do anything to the track surface. So now with that cleared up and off, I would think we'll be going back to green relatively soon. The lights might be out on the pace car. Yep. And the rule is, once that pace car leaves you, the leader, Ian James, has to maintain the pace that the pace car set. It's usually around 50, 55 miles an hour. Let that pace car get away. But right here, okay. All right, we're going to our CBS coverage. Welcome back, everybody. Lights out on the pace car. In fact, it's in pit lane, and Ian James into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone. And he went a bit sooner this time, but Drew Stavely has read it well, and a couple of cars running wide. Stavely got a run, and we know the McLaren's got speed. This could be fun down in turn one, Cal.
They could be three abreast by the time they have to hit that middle pedal of the brakes. Look at Kurtz. He looks to the inside. James protects, takes away the inside line. Stavely's going to try and sweep. He does around Kurtz. Can he put anything on the Panos?
Tries the over-under. James covered that beautifully.
Look at Stacy. He's looking to the inside as the leaders duke it out.
Nate has just been on form in this one, but Stavely just relentless in his attack here. Pushing hard. Look at Lawson Aschenbach. Watching what was going on elsewhere, he's done it again, folks. Lawson Aschenbach up into fifth.
Flicks to the outside as Stacy takes away the inside line. Can he do the undercut here? On the power early, Lawson Aschenbach trying to make a move on Nate Stacy. Side by side as they head to the right hand of turn 6.
And look at Jensen saying, I'm going to follow Nate, try and freeze Lawson on the outside.
He does.
Yeah. Little touch there, maybe.
Possibly. Did Lawson get the power on early enough to protect that position?
Jensen's still to the inside. Lawson's got the outside line. Ooh, through witchcraft.
Has to give it up.
You better do some magic
Oh, no, he
here. What
doesn't.
a move!
Wow.
Then look at Jensen saying, I'm staying put too. They're way over the curb. Contact, Jensen spins. Lawson bounces off of the other curb down into bad attitude.
Well, when you run those curves through the attitude, suddenly it really unsettles the car.
Watch it here.
And he had to go there. Suddenly just couldn't quite keep it together, and Lawson comes back online, and Jensen is there. I think Lawson thought he'd cleared him.
I think so too. Wow, that was amazing. Yeah, I think Lawson, when he got up there, thought he had the move done on him, and then Jensen went straight through those curbs.
I thought Jensen had the move done a couple of
I did
corners
too.
before that, but Lawson didn't want to give it up.
Here's the crew having a serious look here. Talking to Lawson, they will give that car a good eyeball as it comes through. Looks like it's his car's okay. Meanwhile, James, little bit of a margin this time over Stavely. Another look at this one more time, Cal.
Look at this. Then just goes back and uses some of the curb. There was just
Yep.
nowhere for Jensen to go. Lawson's racecraft is, we talk about it every weekend, but
Yep.
I think he just needed to leave Jensen a little bit of room there to try and just fight his way over those curbs.
Well, you saw when he turned into the right-hander where that big curb is, which is the second attitude, that left rear tire left a big black streak. I mean, he was on it aggressively through there. Working their way out of Black Rock Hairpin, heading back toward the Stansbury Mountains into the double right-hand turn 6 complex.
Settle down a little bit here at the front. James seems to be under control here now. We've had that little reset, maybe a chance to cool off his Pirellis. Stavely, a brilliant job there making that sweep around Kurtz once they got down into turn 1.
That's exactly what I was wondering. I mean, we had talked about the fact that Stavely hounding that Panos, using the tires up, and that caution may have, been exactly what James needed, possibly.
Yep. Seems to be working out that way. 3 minutes to go.
See if Nate has anything in that green and black Porsche from Flying Lizard for that orange and white Global Motorsports Group CrowdStrike McLaren.
It's going to be a couple of laps to go. I don't think they're going to see the white flag this time by. Too tight on the clock, so they'll get this one. So basically 2 laps plus these corners to go to finish out this race.
So Kurtz leads GTSA still with that moment by Jensen. And that spin, he's dropped back. Second once again is Frank Gannett. What a story. That's the TV and Lacey Janetta in the 24. Again, not a very experienced racer, but clearly has some skills. Adam Merzon having one of his best races of the season in the 017 Kaysen Porsche up into 3rd. That's the GTSA story. James Stavely and Stacy right now, top 3 in GT. With Aschenbach, a very handy 4th in terms of some points.
What does Stavely have in his back pocket here? What heat can he put on Ian James? He needs to be close enough where Ian James has got to protect the line and compromise his lap time a little bit.
Getting confirmation, as you suspected, Cal, white flag this time by. By the way, Martin Barkey has come back up. He's 11th overall, but 5th in the GTS category. And he's got Jensen, Young, Beaufet in front of him. Unfortunately, he's about 7 seconds behind them. I don't think he's got enough time to make up more ground at this stage. But James, with that caution, Cal, he's just played his hand beautifully here. He's stretching that margin just a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of traffic up ahead. Let's see if that plays into being a factor here before we see the checkered flag. But very disciplined run here by Ian James. Got the move early. Just trying to control this race, manage his tires. They've had some things that are thrown at them since the last round of the championship. A little bit less restricted, a little bit less power effectively, a bit more weight on that Panos, but the team keeps adjusting. Very strong package right now.
Impressive run, and if he holds on here, by my calculation, it's going to be his
4th victory in 6 rounds,
6
I think.
races and his 6th straight podium. If he was
Well, look at this. Stavely is really close.
Oh man, did he get through? He gets through that section of tracks so well.
Tom Milner nods his head. He's liking what he's seeing so far.
There's the white flag, so this is the only chance for Stavely. He's got to get it done on this lap.
Well, he's quick through these sweepers, Greg. This is where the Ginetta really excels. But it's tough to pass through here as well, unless the guy in front of you makes a mistake. And we haven't seen one from Ian James in a long time.
He's not prone to that, is he? Through turn 2.
I think for Ian James, he knows that he's got a mile or two an hour in speed down that front straightaway. That means he didn't have to protect into turn 1 and just focus on hitting his marks.
Right.
Getting through here cleanly. And I think he's got enough of a buffer now. He doesn't have to defend into the hairpin. That is crucial.
And he really runs a much shallower line, but I think it's just because that the Panos likes it.
It seems like through this section that the Panos, in terms of the transmission and the gear ratio, it really seems to be in his sweet spot. It really accelerates so well off of this corner. And this is where he seems to gap that Ginetta a little bit.
Kurtz still right there. He's got a little bit of a buffer back to Stacy. I'm sure Nate would like an overall podium, but right now he's got a class podium, and this have been a little rare for him this year. I think he's probably on the radio being instructed, don't take risks, bring it home. You've got a third right now in class.
And he's right in that points chase as well.
He sure is.
He's not that far away from Martin Barkey. Nate Stacey currently 4th in the points, and he's got really close here to Jorge Kurtz.
Yeah, he has.
Big battle up front with a couple of corners to go, and a battle for that final podium spot as well.
Here comes Stavely. So quick through here. What is he going to do into the final turn? This is release. James tight to the inside. Stavely up on that little bit of banking, turns it down. But once you get in a straight line, it should be the Panos and Ian James and Panos and the Avezzano GT. And the battle for third overall. And hit the line. Oh, it is Stacy according to scoring. But the margin absolutely minuscule. Wow, what a run. Happened right at the end. Stacy figured a way around. Fantastic run for Nate Stacy. But as we talked about, for the Panos team, the Avezzano GT and Ian James, what a run they have put on here. Watch it again at the back.
Off the final corner, Stacy gets the position. He tries to defend. Kurtz tries to go the other way and just misses out at the line.
Boy, Nate found a way to get by on that last lap. That's tremendous. Good for him. That's the kind of race Nate Stacy needed. You know, as we've talked about previously, you tend to forget the kid's 17. You know, he started racing at 14 in this championship in Touring Car B. Here's how that pass happened, Cal.
Look at that, so close. Kurtz just slips a little bit. He has a moment. Stacy pounces. And that McLaren, Jorge Kurtz back on the gas. Wild stuff to the finish line.
That was spectacular. Great racing throughout the field. And again, congratulations to Jorge Kurtz and that GMG CrowdStrike McLaren GTSA driver. Led overall for a portion of this race. 4th overall in the run order. And his 6th straight win in GTSA. Impressive. All right, here's a look at the overall results here. James, Stavely, and Stacy on your podium. And Kurtz and Aschenbach. Kurtz with the win in GTSA. Frank Gannett 2nd in GTSA. And Adam Merzon, a fabulous run to 3rd in the case at Porsche. Well done by all of those drivers. And tell you, just a joy to watch this one. Lots of different things unfolding here in this 14th round of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship presented by Kasich, all part of the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Utah presented by Security National Mortgage. We'll come back and hear from our winners. Welcome back to the Utah Motorsports campus, where the professor, Ian James, has put on a tremendous display here. He's crawling out of that beautiful Panos Avezzano GT, and Jeff Lepper awaits as soon as he gets out and gets that helmet off. We'll get it down to him, but I'll tell you, this is a team with tremendous momentum right now, and guided by two pretty impressive talents. Tom Milner at the helm of the team, and at the controls of this beautiful machine is Ian James. And Jeff, what a run they've had over the last three events.
Great run. They got the entire crew down here waiting in front of this Panos Avezzano, and Ian James, 4 wins for you on the season, commanding lead here today. Great job, and congratulations on your race win today.
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing race there. You know, the Ginetta with Stavley there was really close the whole time, but it was dicing backwards and forwards. Such a great place to do it. You know, it used to be Miller Motorsport Park. Miller family were a big part of my racing. Now I race for Don Panos, and we're in the winner's circle again.
Now tell us about the pace of the race for you. Obviously, this team, you started off, you weren't very good at the beginning of the weekend, and then to come off with the win today.
You know, these guys don't give up. They just keep digging. We didn't have the fastest car, but we had the best team, best strategy. We got it to the first place.
Well, there it is. Ian James, 4-time winner here this year in 2017.
Yeah, it's just been a fabulous run, and I told him that I'd mentioned they so proudly carry hometown heroes on the side of the car. It's a foundation set up by Michael Murphy, who's based in New York, to build not only camaraderie, but to honor and promote the actions of fire, EMS, police, and all military personnel across the nation, and the local folks here. So pretty spectacular stuff. At the end of this now, it's been interesting what's unfolding. You look back, Lawson Aschenbach with a 5th place. I'll tell you what, Lawson did what he needed to in terms of the points as we take a look.
Yeah, he does. He just continues to keep clicking away towards another championship, but very tight in the manufacturer's chase. I mean, Chevy continues to lead, but there's a big battle there with another Panos victory. They leap ahead of Porsche.
Yeah, they do. It's just going to be interesting here heading into the final few rounds. Let's take a look at our Cadillac move of the race, and it was a beauty. Drew Stavely, local driver here, knows this track, sweeps by 2 cars to take second down.
Just fantastic action in turn 1. We saw so much action all day long. Drew Stavely knows this place like the back of his hand, and he made it stick.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's a good look at the field, and of course, one of the great stories building this year and certainly continuing here is in GTSA. And Jeff, it's a guy named Jorge Kurtz.
Well, 7 wins on the series for Jorge Kurtz, but you led overall here, so that's got to make you feel pretty good on top of the 7 wins.
Yeah, we had a great start. GMG and the CrowdStrike team gave me a great car. We made some setup changes for today, and just had a fantastic start and led for a bit. And we had some pressure from behind, but I think we had pretty good results.
And tell us about that last lap there coming into the corner here. You're trying to hold off Nate Stacy there.
Yeah, I was trying to hold off Nate most of the time, and credit to him. I got a little bit sideways in that last lap, and I think it was a photo finish. So great driver, and we had a heck of a race, and hopefully the fans enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. 7 wins on the series here for Jorge Kurtz today. GTSA winner today.
All right, thanks very much, Jeff. Yeah, he has just been remarkable, a real revelation, I think, this season. Some great stuff. Some very important specialty awards that we want to mention. Our VP Racing Fuels Hard Charger Award. Tell you what a drive he put on. Adam Merzon in the 017 K-Sit Racing Porsche GT4 up 9 spots during the course of the race, and that puts him up on the podium in GTSA. Well done. And our Motul Fast Lap of the Race Award going to Drew Stavely at a 2-minute .454, 2-minute flat .454 second lap. That's pretty impressive stuff. So I'll tell you, we've had some interesting racing here, Cal. This track is always amazing, obviously, but the next one we go to is pretty impressive as well, Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, there's going to be some great action there. It's wide open. There's track limits. I don't think there are any. Everyone's going to be going for it.
It's going to be great fun. Make sure and tune in for that. But for today, we are done here at the Utah Motorsports Campus. Thanks for joining us. For Jeff Lepper, Calvin Fish, and our entire CBS Sports Network crew, I'm Greg Creamer in association with WC Vision. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports.